Hello, I'm Aaron Matus with D1 Ticker. Virginia Tech football off to a 3-1 start, certainly noteworthy. But what also caught our attention is Virginia Tech already out with their football season ticket package. In fact, they've been out since September 13th. We want to bring in Senior Associate Athletic Director for External Operations, Brad Wurthman. Brad, thank you so much for being here today to discuss this early rollout of the season ticket package. And I want to just start right away and say, when did you guys kind of get the idea you might get to market early, and why did you go ahead and roll the season ticket package out so early?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. I'm really proud of the group who worked hard on it. To be totally transparent, we started talking about it in April and have been working sort of concurrently between the 2021 season and the 2022 season for the last 5 months or so. And so that's where we went, that we decided that we would more or less stack the deck in our favor. And if we had an opportunity to press the green button, so to speak, that we would take it when it was available.
Now, you say if you had the opportunity, did the win over North Carolina present that opportunity? Is that kind of when you said we've got a pretty good opportunity here to go ahead and do this?
It did, yes. For us, we talk quite a bit about it's our responsibility to build the bottle, and then when the opportunity strikes to catch lightning, we may as well take advantage of it. And so that was absolutely what we had tried to do, and certainly we would have been ready to go. We were ready to go as of the last week of August, so we could have pressed send, so to speak, whenever we were ready for it. And we wanted to get through some of we wanted to get through the North Carolina game. We wanted to get through some of the adjustments that we made, as many have over the last few weeks. And then we wanted to take the opportunity to send it out and get started on 2022.
So we don't have the data, unfortunately, on season ticket package rollouts and when they hit market. But this does appear to be one of the earliest pushes in industry history that we can remember. Why did it make sense to do that this year?
So it's a great question. And to be honest, there's probably, if some of our team ever watches this, they'll probably say it didn't make sense. But part of why we felt the need to do it was, if you think about everything that we've all learned in the last 18 months, the way we viewed it is we didn't have the opportunity to come together and to put people in our stands and to have fans at games. And obviously everybody had them to varying levels, right? It may have been 0%, it may have been 25%, but this gave us a chance, in our opinion, it gave us a chance to say, okay, let's navigate this as quickly as we can. Let's be prepared for it, right? Again, it's not like we started talking the night of the North Carolina game at halftime and said, you know what, we should start working on 2022. We had planned for this and we had worked towards this. And it just made sense because we've been trying to speed up our process for the last few years, and in no uncertain terms, to try to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. And so certainly there's a level of, hey, if things go our way and we've got some current season single game inventory to move, that's one bucket of opportunity that our sales and service team and our digital team work on. And then there's the other bucket of opportunity that is, hey, if Aaron had single game seats for the North Carolina game or the Middle Tennessee State game, it's an easier touch point to be able to call the following week and say, hey, Aaron, we hope you had a great time. Did you enjoy your seats? Did you enjoy your viewpoint? And if you did, we can go ahead and lock you into those now for next year.
Yeah, you kind of just touched upon it, but how much did the emptiness of stadiums and COVID impact the decision? Maybe just taking a little bit advantage of this hunger for people to return to stadiums, which you certainly got a glimpse of in that North Carolina game with the packed house.
Yeah, it absolutely is part of it, and I think all of us, when you think about what the last year looked like, it didn't look like what any of us are used to. And it didn't feel like what any of us would have been expecting. And so having the opportunity to then take an environment like we had the night of the North Carolina game, or really any environment that it happens to be the Virginia Tech Carolina game that we're talking about, but it could be any school in the country.
Sure.
The first game that their fans came back for was an emotional experience, both for staff and student athletes and fans alike. And so having the ability to jump in and really double down in that moment and say, this is what gives us a shot in the arm for next year. I hope that more people sort of go in this path and take advantage of it when the opportunity strikes.
You obviously mentioned you didn't make the decision at halftime of the North Carolina game. So a lot of planning went into this. I'm sure part of what you looked at was next year's schedule, which, you know, notably includes Miami, West Virginia game at home against Virginia. How much of next year's schedule and the opponents coming to Lane Stadium impacted this decision to go early?
So admittedly, maybe not as much as folks may think. You know, I like everyone, you play the games on your schedule, right? So you can't necessarily line up 6 or 7 or 8 home games against the #1 team in the country. So you have to play the cards you're dealt in those moments. And certainly having a home schedule that includes Miami, West Virginia, Virginia, we're never going to shy away from that. But had that schedule been the flip side, we would have done the same thing, right? This was more about us being prepared for the right moment, and then the timing element of that, being able to build all of the collateral and the inventory and just the infrastructure in order to have 2 seasons being sold simultaneously. It was more about, can we pull it off and can we build it correctly, and less about who's on the schedule. Because if we hadn't pulled it off in 21, we would have been pushing to pull it off in 22.
Let me ask you about some of the risks involved, because you bring up selling 2 seasons at the same time, which is basically what is happening right now. And, you know, a lot can happen during a football season. So there's 2 ends of the spectrum to talk about. Let's first talk about the good. You know, you come out with this, you know, flat rate season ticket package, 1% down can get you in the door. What happens then? And how much did you talk about what happens if, you know, Virginia Tech runs the table and demand is, you know, so sky high? Do you kick yourselves at all saying, you know, maybe we didn't take advantage as much as we could have because we came to market so early?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's one that we did. You know, we worked on. We ran the models, we ran the forecasts, and really what it came down to is, you're exactly right. It's a gamble, right? And we decided to let it ride, so to speak, and see what happens. Partially because when we think about what our current pricing strategy is and where we're at from a season ticket perspective, we feel pretty strongly that we need to increase the numbers of season tickets sold. And so having that opportunity, in some ways, you know, we could look at it and say, hey, we should have waited and we should increase prices by a factor of 10% or 15% or 20%. And really it comes down to, what is more valuable? Is it more valuable, in my opinion, is it more valuable to have the opportunity to, in the event that we have a magical run and people are excited and we can have them lock in for next year while they're emotional about it and feeling great? Does that outweigh the value of increasing prices on the back end for people? I don't know what that answer is. I think the answer to that in every school and every market is probably different based on what their fan base can kind of expect and what they're currently at in their equation. A lot of it, a lot of our logic comes from the fact that emotional buys, right? And the ability for people in those moments to make commitments that they want to make. But we now, for the first time, at least speaking for Virginia Tech, we have the opportunity to have people turn their emotional moment into a purchase and a transaction and a commitment with us. So that certainly outweighed the, hey, we might be able to add a little bit of cost to that.
Sure.
If we've done our math correctly, then I feel like we'll win the battle in that equation. Again, that it's a gamble to make 4 months. We're about 3 months ahead of schedule from when we would normally begin renewals, and we're about 8 months ahead of schedule from when we would sell new season tickets with location. So there's certainly an inherent gamble in that, but it was one that we felt confident taking.
Let me ask you about the other end of the spectrum then. One that I'm certain you guys talked about behind closed doors, maybe not want to talk about it with D1 Ticker here, but what if things don't go Virginia Tech's way and you've got this season ticket package that's been rolled out and momentum's kind of stale? Did you guys talk about that opportunity or option, I guess I should say, in terms of how things maybe could go a little bit negative in terms of how the season plays out?
We did, yes. And I'd be lying if I said that we weren't planning for all possible scenarios.
Sure.
And certainly we are cautiously optimistic that it will be more of we're kicking ourselves for not charging
first
more.
Option.
But it is one that, in the nature of our business, you have to be prepared for anything that could come. And so working through that, I think for us, we feel strongly that from a value proposition perspective, we are in a sweet spot in a variety of areas. We are adding in new price levels and price types into our venue. We're trying to create inventory in those moments for areas that maybe have had depressed demand or areas that haven't been as traditionally populated by season tickets, not necessarily single games, but by season tickets. And so having that opportunity to have multiple packages and multiple opportunities and multiple price points, we felt like it gives us the opportunity to stair step fans and donors and customers based on what works in their package.
And the question we ask, people sometimes don't like to go quite public with this, but metrics, how are things going so far? I know you've only been out since about September 13th, but is there anything that leads you to believe, hey, we made a great decision?
There are, yeah. And again, great we'll tell you if it's great on renewal deadline day. Sure. So it's certainly, it's one of those things that I'm not sure if it's going to work perfectly or not. But I don't mind sharing it. We've sold over 1,000 season tickets at this point. I joked with some of our staff and I said, you could have said we sold one and I would have told you we were 3 months ahead of schedule. Right. So from that vantage point, we're in an okay place. But what's been really exciting, quite honestly, of that roughly 1,000, about 35% have been new season tickets that have been committed to. So while that number certainly that percentage will decline the longer we go and the more renewal heavy we become, at least on the front end, it's pretty nice to see that kind of push from new season ticket holders, again, who the renewal is one thing, but a new season ticket, we are 9 months ahead of when we would normally begin that process. And so being able to say, hey, of that roughly 1,000, call it 350 are new folks in the door. We wouldn't have been able to even begin that conversation until June, traditionally speaking.
And I know you're not a coach, not a player, so you're not going to be able to impact what happens on the field off this weekend. But I assume in terms of sales and season ticket opportunity sales, you're excited for the October 9th date coming up.
Very much so. Very much so. It's, it's an evening game in Lane Stadium, arguably in my opinion, one of the best environments in college athletics. And so it's going to be a pretty fun night. I to your point, not a coach, not a student athlete. I'm rooting hard for our guys, but it's going to be a pretty memorable night and a pretty memorable experience for all involved.
Yeah, beat Notre Dame on October 9th, and we'll see if that season ticket package early rollout really heats up. We really appreciate you being here, Brad, and discussing this decision you guys made, and best of luck with the season and with the season ticket sales as you continue to watch things unfold.
Thank you. We appreciate it.